Hello, my name is King Rico, and today we're going to do a tier list of every single keepsake in Hades 2. Now, this is going to be my personal opinion, but mostly here is what I'm thinking, how every keepsake can be used by the average person, by really experienced people, and like speedrunners. So I'm going to try to account for all of that when I'm giving my opinions. And for now, let's get started with the silver wheel. This keepsake is very mid. It's giving you more magic. Now magic is very useful, especially in the beginning when you haven't picked up that many boons to restore magic, and, you know, for different builds where you are spamming your omega moves, it could be very useful. So that's why it's not the worst keepsake in the world. But you know, like as you go through your build, like you can go and pick up different boons that give you, you know, either magic restoration, or you can pick up the magic bottles that gives you more max magic. So for that reason, I think this goes into C tier. Okay, next let's take a look at the Knuckle Bones. Next Guardian loses minus 10% health, you take minus 10% damage from Guardians. Now this is not the max tier, so it's a little bit better than that, but you get the idea. The whole point is that if you're struggling with a Guardian, you'll put this on, it'll make the fight better. And for that reason I put it in C tier, because it's purely defensive. It doesn't really help out in the rest of the region. Like there are better defensive options in my head. Like for example, the Luckier Tooth. After you fall to 0 health, automatically restore 101 health once this night. You get 1 death revival, which is way better than the Knuckle Bones, because that doesn't apply to just a boss, that applies anywhere in the run. So you just get extra, you know, death revival, and this is extremely useful for using it for new players, specifically if you're struggling with the boss, because it gives you way more time in the fight. So whenever people are starting out and they don't know what to do, I would strongly recommend to use Arcana, which gives you 3 death revivals. Then you use Tula, which gives you 1 extra death revival, and then you put the Luckier Tooth with a total of 5. That's gonna give you all the time in the world you need to go through the boss. And even there, you know, kicking your butt, it's okay. You can come back on a new run and try it again. But at least while you're in that run, you're gonna have as much time as possible to learn the pattern, learn the fight. So for a new player, this is extremely useful. And for that reason, I'm gonna put it into A tier. Next we have the Ghost Onion. Whenever you exit a location, fully restore your health up to a total of 100 health this night. So the idea here is very similar. I would call it a defensive keepsake, and what I mean by that, it's if you are low on health and you just want to pick up a quick 100 healing, you click on this, you know, you go into the next region and you're a lot better. Now the reason why this is not so good, it's like once you've gotten the 100 health, like you're done. So you know, you might as well as get coins and then pick up healing from Kayron, or do something else. So this is very limited. Like obviously extra health is nice, but like I said before, I think the better defensive option is the Luckier Tooth. So for this reason, I'm putting this also into C tier. Now next is the Evil Eye. Deal plus 30% damage to the last foe that vanquished you. For me it was Prometheus. Now this is D tier. And why is it D tier? Because you are very limited with this keepsake. This only applies to one type of enemy. So typically it would be a boss that would use this on. So if you're thinking, oh, like, man, I'm really struggling with this boss, I just need a little extra damage, you know, like, and it'll make my life so much easier. If you're thinking that to yourself, this is not the answer. This is not gonna do nearly as enough, because it's not gonna help you out in the rest of your run. But like I've used it a couple times because it's kind of fun. But yeah, D tier, absolutely D tier. Next we have the Gold Purse, which just gives you 150 coins this night. What can I say? Papa loves money. Can't really argue with this. Like, you can't say this is useless. You just go to a shop, you just get, you know, an extra boon, or you increase a stat or something like that. For that reason, I put it in B tier. It's nothing that exciting, nothing to rave on about, but gold is just nice and solid. You'll never be too disappointed with this. If you have literally nothing else to pick at any given point, you could just do this. Like, it's a very safe decision, no matter how experienced you are. Next, we have the Engraved Pin. When you first fall to 0 health in an encounter, become doomed. Clear in time for 45 health. I will say that this is extremely niche and very terrible. Now, when I'm saying extremely niche, you might be confused because you might think this is absolutely useless. Why would you do this? Because it's really bad in bosses, because if they kill you early in the fight, you have 10 seconds to kill them, which is most of the time not enough to just lose. But there's certain situations and higher fears runs where you might be running into this problem where you're really low health and you can mostly deal with most of the enemies, but they keep killing you. For that specific scenario in high fear runs, this is actually kind of a viable option. But if you're just looking for like an average player and, you know, a new player, again, the Luckier Tooth, way better. Makes way more sense because guaranteed it restores way more health, and yes, once you use it, it's gone. And why this is nice is because you can theoretically get up a proc every single chamber that you run into. So yay, infinite value, but at what cost? So for that reason, putting this into D tier. Speaking of D tier, Discordant Bell. After each encounter this night, you deal plus 1% damage, but also take damage more. So this kind of sounds good on paper. So if you're a really good player, you might think that, hey, this is nice. I get constant damage increases, and because I can dodge or heal or whatever, I don't really care about taking extra damage. But the problem with this is that if you choose to use this, you have to use it the entire run, like from the second that you start. And that has the potential of building up to about 30-40%, I believe. You can keep running, especially if you go in the underground and you keep the chambers, keep it going with the new extra chambers, you know, for the extra rewards. But why would you do that? Because at that point, if you ever get hit once, you're taking a lot of damage. You're taking an extra 30-40%. So you're a lot more likely to just normally die if you're not careful, which is not really worth it. But just getting a flat damage increase that you have to use the entirety of your run to get it is just not really worth it, in my opinion. If you're doing a low fear run, this can be fun. I have enjoyed it with Thanatos Axe. You just kind of go, you know, wee little whirlwind and destroy everything in your path, and you don't really care. But yeah, very obvious D tier. If you're not experienced, this is really bad. You're just gonna keep taking damage. You're not gonna be able to fully utilize this, so don't even bother. Okay, next we're gonna have the Metallic Droplet. You move, strike, and channel 20% faster for the next 300 seconds. That is the next 5 minutes. S tier. This is the speedrunner's holy grail. If you couldn't tell based off the effect, because it literally makes everything faster. And there's nothing really to complain about this. Like, anyone can utilize this, no matter how experienced they are. You will get a nice boost, and I don't know what else to say. Like, if you're faster, you deal damage faster, and you know, you channel more, you move more, you can dodge stuff easier. Like, this is just incredible. Next, we have the White Antler. For the next region, gain plus 30% critical damage chance, but you're limited to 30 max health. Now, immediately I'm going to say this, that for experienced players, this makes sense. You know, you would want to pick this up and it would be pretty good. For new players, terrible. D tier, F tier, you do not want to pick this up ever. It's just gonna end your run because you don't know what you're doing. You stay away from this until you've cleared at least the surface and the underground. Like, you know, when you should actually picked up the patterns of bosses and you actually know what you're doing, you can pick this up. And then this becomes an A tier keepsake because plus 30% critical is insane. You're just dealing double damage almost all, like half the time you're dealing damage. And I'm running it up because you can also pick up Arcana, and you can pick up Rocky, which gives you, I think Rocky gives you an extra 5%, and then there's Arcana, give you an extra 15% on Omega moves. So you can really, you know, really increase that critical rate and deal a lot of damage. So this is very good for that, you know, for a nice little glass cannon build. So yeah, I would put this into A tier. Next we have the Moonbeam. A reward from Selene is likely. The next path of stars you find grants +5 upgrades. So if you choose to use Selene's aspects, or Selene's moons, yes, this is quite good. It's not quite a must pick, but it is nice because it just accelerates the upgrades for that boon. However, this is not really worth it because overall, when you go on a run, if you have your rerolls, you will be able to just reroll to get the Path of Stars if you really need it. But if you don't, why did you just waste your keepsake slot to guarantee it? You know, like at this point in the game, the Selene boons are still not incredible. Obviously, if you get Moon Water, you basically guaranteed to, you know, beat your run. But anything else, I would say it's still good, but not quite at the level where you'd want to pick this over a boob, like, you know, the other god boobs. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this into C tier. Next, we're gonna be looking at all of the god keepsakes, and I put them all together in their own tier called the god tier, and that is because they have a very specific purpose. It's that you want to pick these at the beginning of a run to start build around a specific god, and then after that you really don't need to use any of these. But it is strongly encouraged to start off every run with one of these to get a consistent build. So for that reason, they are slightly above A, because I think that anyone who is starting any run should start out with one of these keepsakes. But we can also go into who I think the better gods are and why. And to me, my rating for the gods is Poseidon as number 1, and it's Aphrodite, and it's Apollo, and it's Zeus, and it's Ares, then it's Hera, then it's Hestia, Demeter, and Hephaestus. Now, where did I come up with this order? If you take a look at what speedrunners do in their runs, you would see that one of the most popular boons that people pick is Poseidon boons, and that's because they just do a lot of damage, specifically when it gets paired up with quicker weapons or the metallic droplet. So you're going to be taking other gods to apply different curses, and you're going to have origination, and then the waves are going to come in and just deal a lot more damage. So because of the consistent damage, I think people really like Poseidon. Next is Aphrodite because of the weakness effect. I would say that this is really good for both new players and more experienced players, just because it lets you survive more in the fight. If you're ever not sure about like who to pick, Aphrodite is always very safe. And also for a secondary effect of dealing more damage on your attacks when they're close to you. That damage is insane. You get like plus 100% on close-up damage, and you can keep upgrading it with palms. So this is very worth it. Next would be Apollo, and to me, why Apollo is so good, it's because of the daze effect, because it increases also the size of your attacks, so you can just hit more things at any time. You know, you can get the cast that, you know, makes it larger, and then all of these things. But this is also, I just think of the specific build for the aspect of Moros, where you have your special and you just spam your attack, and then if you put this on the attack, you're basically blowing up half the map with just your Omega attacks, which is going to be dealing a lot of damage. So, you know, really good burst. So for these reasons, that's why I think it's the third best. Next is Zeus. I'm not going to rave too much about him. He just puts out a lot of reliable damage. The lightning effects that he has are pretty good. So not much to say there. Next is going to be Ares. Kind of similar to Zeus, applying wounds. You know, you just deal pretty much double damage anytime you attack anything for the first time. Obviously, the burst potential here is insane. So for those reasons alone, I think Ares is pretty good. Next is Hera. Hera is very good at crowd control. By applying her curse, you can pretty much damage everything at the same time. So that's always really good. And all of her passives for increasing the rarity of your other boons, and, you know, being reliant on that, I think it's also really good and solid. Now for the last three, I would say they're not actually that bad. I also want to make clear that the difference between the best god and the worst god is not that large in my opinion. They all can be very viable, but like I said, they have like a very specific use. So for me, for Hestia, the must pick used to be the dash, the one that lets you eat projectiles. That unfortunately is not the case anymore, so I think for that reason Hestia has gotten a little bit worse on my list. But the burn damage is quite nice, and one of my favorite things about Hestia is her passives that let you restore magic on every attack and special. I think that is one of the best ways to restore magic in the game. So for that reason, I do really like her. And there's Demeter, who's really good. Her curse is really good, just slowing down enemies, always a great idea. But her passives are not that good, I would say. Like the magic restoration one is definitely the worst one in the entire game, where you have to stand still to, you know, cover some. Terrible, especially in a fast-paced game like this. You're never gonna have a moment to stand still, really. If you're doing that, you're just taking damage for no reason. So for that reason, I don't think Demeter is that good. And then lastly, it's Hephaestus. While on paper he sounds pretty good, you know, with dealing extra damage and, you know, getting armor and stuff, even though he's been reworked to be better lately, honestly I need to try him out some more, because I do like his ding builds, but they're very specific. You basically, if you're doing a Hephaestus run, you have to use palms to keep reducing the timing on the hammer hits. Otherwise it's not gonna be that good. So that's my opinion on all of the god keepsakes. Let's move on to the Gorgon Amulet. And speaking of gods, this will give you an Athena boon while you have no Death Defiance. So this is perfect for strength builds. If you're ever using the Strength Arcana, this is pretty much a must pick. The Athena, if anyone remembers from Hades 1, the Athena boons were absolutely broken because it lets you deflect damage. They're not as good here. By that I mean you can't just spam them. They have more of a cooldown here, but they're still, their effect is very powerful. So this easily goes into S because one, strength is already really good, so you want to just use it over Death Defiance in my opinion as you get more experience. So to you know, if you're a new player, you probably don't want to really touch this because, you know, if you have no Death Defiance, you're probably gonna die anyways at whatever point the run. But as you get better, you know, you're gonna transition from using the Death Defiance into Strength, and then you will definitely want to pick this up because the Athena boost, like I said, like she's gonna come down, she's gonna kill a bunch of enemies for you. So that's really helpful, and then she gives you a boon for free. What's there not to like? S tier. Okay, speaking of S tier, the Fig Leaf. A single encounter in 3 regions may be blissfully free from foes the rest of this night. Broken. Broken. This is the best keepsake in the entire game. Always has been since it's been introduced. Speedrunners have to use this, just like they use the metallic droplet. They have to use the Fig Leaf, and I'll tell you the exact strategy. It's in the first chamber, or in the first region, you pick up your god keepsake, you know, to start building your build. Then for the next 2 regions, you're gonna keep the metallic droplet just to kind of go through both of them really quickly, and then you end on the Fig Leaf, because obviously the fastest way to clear something is by not doing it at all. So this is a little bit RNG heavy, but the nice thing about it is if you pick it up in an earlier region, you still get the effect later on, or you have a chance to do it. So if you're not speedrunning, this is still really good. Okay, next is the Silken Sash. Gain plus 20 armor. Well, you have at least 1 armor. Gain plus 3 armor after each location. 2 words, too slow. Too slow and confusing. Why it's confusing? It's because I don't know who this is supposed to be for. Because if you're a novice and you know what you're doing, you're gonna eat up that 20 armor very quickly. It's gonna take like 3 chambers, it's gonna be gone. And then it's like, okay, cool, I guess I saved like 30 health, but if I wanted to do that, I might as well as pick the onion because it gives you way more health back. So why did we do this? And if you're an expert, why would you pick? You don't care about the armor. You're not gonna get hit because you know what you're doing. So I don't really understand what this is for. The intermediate players, there's just not much benefit from the armor here. Maybe it would be good on high fear runs just to have it as insurance. But yeah, other than that, I don't really see a use for it. D tier. Next we have the Aromatic Phial. Fountains restore plus 15% health. The next turns 1 random common boon of yours heroic. I would say it's B tier. And the reason why it's, you know, it's always nice when you go to you just had a boss fight, you took a little bit too much damage, you don't really like it, and you have a common boon, you don't like that it's common. So right before you hit the fountain, what you could do is you could switch over to the Phial. You get the fountain boost, you know, for the healing, and then you upgrade your common boon, which is just a win-win-win. So this is really good, but most of the time when you're picking, you know, boons up, you don't want to get the common ones unless it's, you know, you don't have a choice, which always happens with RNG. So this is really good if you have a very specific common boon that you want to turn into a heroic. Otherwise, you know, turning a random one, I mean, it's always helpful, but it's not that crazy. Like, you know, this can be basically an S tier in niche situations, and it's gonna be, you know, a C tier and others. And for that reason, I'm just gonna put this in the B tier because it kind of averages out for me. Okay, next we have the Concave Stone. After choosing a boon, 75% of the time, randomly take 1 more once this night. Now, I see people kind of, you know, not like this a lot, and I don't know why. I mean, I understand that getting a random extra boon is not super consistent. It's not really good, some might say, because, you know, you don't control when it happens, and, you know, for your 3 choices, maybe you wanted, you know, the second one, but you got the third one, so, you know, it's kind of inconsistent. But at the end of the day, it's 1 extra boon for free, and that's still really strong, because, you know, it makes you more likely to get a legendary later down the line, and, you know, you don't have to keep getting the same like god boons, and, you know, you can save a reroll and so on and so forth. So overall, I mean, I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but I still think it's useful. So for that reason, I put it in B. Next we have the Lion Fang. Deal plus 40% damage. I'm pretty sure the max rank is plus 50%, but lose 5% of this bonus after each encounter. This is not that great because you are essentially doing a lot of extra damage right away, but then as you get closer and closer to the boss, you're dealing less and less damage, which is just like, why? I mean, I guess if you get to the final boss, there's what, 6 chambers. So if you get you start at 50, you go through the 6, you're gonna have your 20% boost. I mean, it's not the worst, but I don't know. I just feel like you can get a lot more from the other boons and other keepsakes. So, I mean, a flat damage increase is always good. Like, don't get me wrong. I think a lot of beginners are gonna like this, but I don't know. It's a little bit confusing because even though you're a beginner, you're gonna like, this is why it's kind of weird. It's because you're gonna start out feeling really strong, and it just gets, your run gets more and more difficult as you get to the end. So that's why it's a little bit confusing to me. For that reason, I'm just gonna put a C tier and move on. Next we have the Blackened Fleece. After you take 250 damage, your mega moves deal plus 30 damage. So I think it's no secret to everyone that when you do a run, you're gonna take some damage. And if you have taken 250, you get a nice boost in your omega damage. I think this is pretty nice, specifically for builds that focus on omega moves. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this into B tier. Okay, next we have the Crystal Figurine. After the next Guardian, activate 1 random inactive Arcana card. This is not that good because it's way too inconsistent. You really don't know what you're gonna get, just like a box of chocolates. So for that reason, it goes into D. You could get Judgment potentially and have an absolute bonkers run, because after that, after beating every boss, you're gonna get an extra 3 Arcana, and it's like, whoa, that's crazy, man. But the chances of that happening are so low that you can never hit it reliably, so why even bother? Okay, next we have the Experimental Hammer. Gain 1 random hammer that lasts for 20 encounters. This is quite good, even though it's inconsistent and there's kind of a big spread for the hammer options you can get. Still getting any random upgrades will be helpful, especially if you typically play where you alternate with your attacks and your specials. Most likely whatever you're gonna get, it's gonna give you a bonus of some sort. And what's even cooler, it's that if your build was focused on attacks only, it's like a 50% chance you're gonna get something related to attack. I know it's way less than that, but if you think about it, it's like half of them basically upgrade your attack, half of them your special, and some of them have some extra effect. So while it's not super reliable that way, an upgrade, a hammer upgrade, is one of the best things you can get in the game. It's like the most beneficial thing you can get for any build. So just getting an extra random one is quite good. So for that reason, it's an A tier. And lastly, we have the Transcendent Embryo. Gain a random epic chaos blessing. Every 8 encounters, replace it. If you want to talk about consistency, this is extremely consistent. However, you don't have to deal with the first half of the chaos boons, which is dealing with the negative portion of it. You just get the reward, and the reward is typically quite good, because you can get extra damage, you can get the faster casting time, more resources, more money. There's a lot of different things, but all of them are beneficial. You are almost never gonna be mad at any of them. It's just something else that helps you along, and quite a lot of the time will be very beneficial. So I would say that this is quite worth it. This is A tier because I feel like more than half the time you get something you actually want, and it's very rare that you would be unhappy with whatever random thing it gives you. So that was my ranking of all the keepsakes. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you later. Bye.